Let's go, champ. It's the champ, Shannon the Cannon Briggs, and you're watching True School Sports. Let's go, champ.
It's personal between me and you, and I'm going to do you some serious harm, you big stiff idiot.
The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, if you hear me breathing a little hard, I was just running, so I'm trying to catch my breath a little bit. But yeah, we're here once again in Cali, the beautiful Marina Del Rey. You know, very, very great place to be. But listen, man, wanted to give my thoughts on last night's fight between Andy Ruiz Jr. and Luis King Kong Ortiz. First and foremost, respect to both men for putting on a good fight. I enjoyed it. I was there last night. Shout out to Pops for who was live and has done a great job holding down the live on Saturday and the live yesterday on Sunday. So much respect goes to Pops. But the fight went almost as I thought it would go. The only thing that was a little surprising was that Ortiz went the full distance. I thought Andy Ruiz, once he had him hurt, and I dropped him a couple of times, I thought Andy Ruiz was going to get him out of there and, you know, show that extra bit of quality and put the exclamation point to to get Ortiz out of there. But as we saw, Ruiz, even when he was getting, I think it was the second round when he scored the knockdown, Luis Ortiz is still returning fire with some big punches, and the punches that he was landing with the left hand and things like that, it definitely was getting Ruiz's respect because, you know, even when he had him hurt in other rounds, you know, he wasn't eager to jump on him. So it shows you that Ortiz got his respect. On top of that, you know, Ortiz, I think, did a good job in many parts of the fight of throwing that jab out there. You know, not so much always landing it, but you know, sometimes the jab can be effective without landing. Sometimes you can throw the jab and keep a guy at bay. And there were times in the fight where he was doing that, where the jab was falling, you know, inches short of Ruiz, but he was doubling up on it and throwing it out there so much that sometimes Ruiz would have to circle to his right or to his left to look for the next shot or the next opening. So it was really good high-level boxing from Ortiz as per usual. What I liked from Ruiz in this fight with this new trainer, whose name I can't remember right now, so if you know his new trainer's name, let me know in the comments. What I liked is that, you know, Ruiz is never going to be Usyk. He's never going to be like a fleet of foot type of heavyweight. But when he needed to use his legs to look for the next openings, he was doing that. When Ortiz would throw punches, or if there were times where certain shots went there for Ruiz, I didn't really see him like try to fight outside of himself. He did a good job of very much staying within himself and not, you know, trying to give Ortiz too many openings to where he could counter, because as we know and as we've seen many times over the years, Ortiz being that 6'4" and some change, left-handed crafty southpaw counterpuncher can be a big handful for a lot of guys. And mind you, this was the first southpaw Andy Ruiz ever fought in his whole pro career. And what a test. I mean, what a stiff test to fight a guy like, imagine that being your first southpaw you ever box under the lights in the pros is Luis Ortiz. That's a tough task. So I think when you consider that, when you consider the fact that, you know, like many fighters in boxing, he's coming on a layoff, and he fought Ortiz that, you know, he kind of knew that this was going to be his last real opportunity to get a crack at that top level. I thought he performed well. I thought he performed very well. I liked the fact that he was patient. I liked the fact that he showed something a bit different in this fight, because, you know, Andy Ruiz has a reputation for being more so a guy that is, you know, the destroyer, like his name, the destroyer. And in this fight, what he showed was that he can be Andy Ruiz, not just the destroyer, but Andy Ruiz the thinker, Andy Ruiz the counterpuncher, Andy Ruiz the guy that will wait you out. And to do that against Ortiz, with that being his first southpaw, it actually shows that Andy Ruiz is a much smarter fighter than people give him credit for. So he gets the win. You know, the scorecards were a bit crazy. I think it was a 113, 112, one of the cards was, and the other two were 114, 111. So literally, if Andy Ruiz didn't get the knockdowns, then that means that Ortiz would have got a win or a draw. So it looks like the judges really wanted to see the Wilder-Ortiz trilogy, because damn, I don't see how the fight could be that close. But hey, boxing is a subjective sport. Now, with the win, Andy Ruiz Jr. is looking at potentially fighting Deontay Wilder next. Wilder did jump in the ring and say that that's a fight he's looking at if he can get past Helenius on October 15th. And I'm going to say this, that's a very interesting fight, because with Wilder, there's a lot of question marks. You don't know where the punch resistance is right now because of the beatings he's taken in the Fury fights. Even if we didn't have those question marks about the punch resistance, the reality is Andy Ruiz, I think, in my humble opinion, and y'all can agree or disagree, but I really think Andy Ruiz is a bad style match for Deontay Wilder. And the reason I feel that way is because we know that if Wilder can keep Andy Ruiz on the outside and line him up with the right hand, he can knock him and just about anybody out, except Tyson Fury. But unless Wilder really matures and adds some things to his skill sets to keep Ruiz on the outside, I ultimately see in that fight, I think Andy Ruiz has the skill, the craft, the patience, and the pedigree to get on the inside of those long arms of Wilder and exploit what I believe to be is his biggest advantage in that fight, and his biggest advantage against just about any heavyweight he fights, and that's the speed advantage. He's got a significant speed advantage over, and when I say speed, I mean hand speed, not foot speed, but hand speed. The speed advantage he'll have over Wilder, and the fact that Wilder really has no inside fighting skills at all, like very little to any, inside fighting skills. So I just really think, to me, this is my opinion, it'd be a good fight, it'd be intriguing. I'll love Wilder to take the fight if he can get past Helenius, but I just see it as a stylistic problem, like a big problem for Wilder. And I would say, like, if he were to beat Andy Ruiz Jr., especially now, because it looks like Andy Ruiz, for whatever the case may be, he's taking the sport more serious. He was at a weight that was, I think, perfect for him. He literally came in at the same weight for this fight with Ortiz that he came in when he fought Joshua the first time, and that was 268 pounds. He wasn't too light, but he wasn't too heavy. He was just right. So I feel like, if he can stay around that weight or come back at that same weight again with the same mindset he had this fight and even in the first Joshua fight, Andy Ruiz is gonna beat the shit out of Wilder. I really believe that. That's my opinion. I think it's a stylistic problem for Wilder. But that's my opinion. You guys can give me yours down below. As far as Luis Ortiz is concerned, he was saying after the fight that that he wants this to be the end of his career. So if it is, let me give a tip of the cap to Luis King Kong Ortiz. A guy that, although he's from Cuba, we still consider him one of South Florida's very own. So much respect to him. He's been a mainstay in the heavyweight division for a long time. His career probably could have went a little better than it did. But due to, I guess, his age and some guys not wanting to fight him when he was at his best, maybe we never got to see the best of Luis Ortiz. But he did give us some great fights. He did give us some great moments to remember him by. So when it comes to when you ask the question of, like, who are some of the best left-handed southpaw heavyweights, there really aren't too many top-level left-handed southpaw heavyweights. So his name will always be in the discussion for that regard. He's not Usyk, he's not Michael Moore, but he's up there. He's up there. So that's the end for him. Then tip of the cap goes to him on a great career. I'm very familiar with his team and Herman Caicedo and the fine folks down there. So I got a lot of love for Luis Ortiz. But yeah, Andy Ruiz gets the win. I thought he looked pretty good. Scores 3 knockdowns in the fight. Shows a little bit of patience. Shows a little bit of power. Shows a little bit of aggression. Shows some boxing IQ as well. And beats a very high-level southpaw in his first southpaw he ever fought in Luis King Kong Ortiz. So, they're talking Wilder. I don't think it's a good idea. Personally, just like that boat over there, I think the boat has sailed on Wilder being one of the top heavyweights. That's just my opinion, but I'm open to be disproved if Wilder wants to fight Ruiz and still continue to prove that he's one of the best out there. But leave your comments down below. What do you make of the fight? How do you think Andy Ruiz would do against Deontay Wilder? Leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just Kid from Daniel. So until next time.
Just like Mayweather's uncles would say, a lot of people don't know shit about boxing. You've done
Thank
it.
you.
You about the only smart guy that I know, bro. Nobody knows shit about boxing.
I appreciate it, man.
I want to say, man, make sure to follow True School Sports, always covering boxing at the highest level, man, and make sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel. Follow him on Instagram at Just a Kid from Danny as well.
He the plug.